heard it whisper my name last night. But I live alone, and when I looked outside, there was nothing. Yet everything felt wrong. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe. Hit that bell like this video, and leave a comment if you dare, because the story you're about to hear will haunt you far longer than your screen. Watch until the very end. Final twist will leave you breathless. It started on a quiet Tuesday evening. I had just finished dinner and was scrolling through my phone when a sudden chill ran down my spine. I live in a small apartment on the 3rd floor of an old building downtown, and usually the sounds of the city lull me to sleep. But tonight, there was something off. The usual hum of traffic, the distant sirens, even the occasional bark of a dog, all of it seemed muted, as if the city itself were holding its breath. I shrugged it off and went to my bedroom. My apartment was dimly lit, the warm glow of a single lamp casting long, uneven shadows across the walls. I set my phone on the nightstand and crawled into bed. That's when I heard it, a soft tapping. Not on the window, not on the walls, but on the door to my bedroom. At first, I thought it was my imagination. Buildings settle, pipes shift, old floors creak, but this sound was different. It was deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. I froze, straining to listen. The tapping stopped, and then, almost immediately, it started again, slightly faster this time. Like someone was impatient. My heart started racing. I told myself it was probably just a neighbor, someone walking past in the hallway. But when I peeked through the peephole, the corridor was empty. My apartment door was locked, the chain fastened tight. There was no one there. I tried to calm myself, reminding myself I was being ridiculous. I turned on the bedside lamp fully, creating a small circle of light in the room. The shadows on the walls seemed to sway unnaturally, though the curtains were still. I told myself it was the flickering light, an optical illusion. But deep down, ik nou primera waisin, imagining it. I sat on the edge of my bed, listening. The apartment was silent. 2. Silent, and then I heard a soft scratching, coming from somewhere behind me. Slowly, I turned my head. Nothing. Just the familiar walls of my room, the closed window, the lamp casting warm light. My body tensed, every nerve screaming. I reached for my phone, intending to call someone, anyone, and that's when the scratching moved across the ceiling, from one side of the room to the other, a slow, deliberate crawl that made the hair on my arms stand on end. I bolted upright, my heart hammering. The rationale part of me tried to explain it away. Maybe a rat, maybe a loose vent. But my gut told me it wasn't that simply. The sound had weight, intelligence. It was intentional. I grabbed a flashlight from the drawer and pointed it at the ceiling. The beam shook in my hands. The corners of the room stretched and warped as if the light itself was bending under some invisible pressure. And then Sila. I waited, holding my breath, listening for any sign of movement. Nothing. I tried to convince myself I was imagining things, that my mind was playing tricks after a long day. But as I lay back down, I felt it. Eyes. Not my own, but someone or something watching me from the shadows. I could feel its gaze pressing down on me, a weight on my chest that made breathing difficult. I closed my eyes tightly, trying to block it out. And then I heard it, my name. Whispered, soft and urgent. Alex. I jumped out of bed, scanning the room. Nothing. The lamp illuminated the space, but shadows clung stubbornly to every corner, stretching longer and darker than they should. Primeraka let out, my voice cracking. Hello? Who's there? No response, only the soft hum of my apartment's old heater. I debated leaving, calling the police, anything, but something rooted me to the spot. Curiosity, fear, both. I didn't know. I took a cautious step toward the door, the floorboards creaking under my weight. And that's when I saw it. A figure, dark, featureless, standing in the corner near my window. My mind tried to rationalize. Was it a coat on a chair, a trick of the shadows? but my body screamed that it was real. It tilted its head slowly, watching me with what I could only describe as malevolent intelligence. I froze. My voice caught in my throat, and then, without moving its limbs, the figure glided toward me. Not walking, not running, just floating, smooth and silent. Every instinct screamed to run, but I was I could hear the soft whispering again, impossible to understand, yet somehow penetrating my mind. It stopped a few feet away, just outside the circle of light from my lamp. I could see the faint outline of a face, featureless, yet horrifyingly human in shape. The air grew thick, almost suffocating, and I felt the temperature drop sharply. My breath fogged in the room, despite the heater still running. Suddenly, it was gone. 1 second, it was there, and the next nothing. Only shadows and the dim glow of my lamp. My heart pounded in my ears, and I felt tears streaming down my face. I was alone, or so I told myself. I grabbed my phone again, intending to call someone, anyone, but the screen went black. Dead. No matter what I tried, it wouldn't turn on. That's when I heard the whisper again, this time closer, almost at my ear. Don't look away. I snapped my head around. Nothing. Just the walls. Just the shadows. But I knew it was there. Watching. Waiting. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't blink. I sat in the corner, flashlight in hand, listening to the apartment breathe and whisper around me. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, I couldn't tell. Time had lost meaning. Every creak, every scratch, every faint tap of the radiator felt like a threat. And as the first light of morning seeped through the blinds, I dared to move. I checked every corner of the room, every inch of the apartment. Nothing. No sign that anyone or anything had been there. And yet I knew it had been. I felt italiano. I tried to tell myself I was imagining things. Stress, fatigue, anxiety. Anything rational, but deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. I thought the nightmare had ended with daylight. Primera, what is wrong? Daylight brought a false sense of security, but the lingering unease refused to leave me. I tried to go about my routine shower, breakfast, checking emails, but every shadow seemed heavier, every sound sharper. The world outside appeared normal, but inside my apartment, something had shifted. It started subtly at first. My keys, which I always left on the same hook by the door, were missing. I tore the apartment apart, checking every drawer, every surface. Nothing. Not a single sign of them. And then I found them on my bed, neatly placed, aligned perfectly as if someone had taken the time to do it, with the sharp edge of the key reflecting the morning light like tiny, menacing eyes. I laughed nervously, telling myself it was a prank, maybe a neighbor with access to my building. But no one had the codes. The spare keys were in my possession, and the building security camera footage showed nothing. Just the empty hallway outside my door. Then the noises began again. A faint scratching, this time from the walls themselves, like something or someone was moving just behind the plaster. Tap, tap, tap. But unlike before, it wasn't random. It was a rhythm, a slow, measured cadence, almost like a heartbeat. And it seemed to follow me, echoing wherever I moved in the apartment. I tried calling a friend, anyone who could reassure me that I wasn't losing my mind, but my phone remained dead, unresponsive. The silence was deafening. No dialtones, no notifications, not even the faint vibration of a text. I felt utterly cut off from the world. By evening, the apartment felt suffocating. I closed the blinds, turning every light on, but the shadows seemed to gather in corners, darker than any shadow should be. My reflection in the window didn't always match my movements. Sometimes it lingered, smiling slightly when I wasn't. I knew it was there, always there, watching, waiting. That night, I decided to document everything. I set up my laptop in the living room, hoping to record any unusual activity. As the clock ticked past midnight, I heard it again, the soft whispering, clearer this time, echoing off the walls. Alex had called me, again and again, pulling me toward the bedroom. My hands shook, but I forced myself to pick up the laptop and follow the sound. The moment I stepped into the bedroom, the air changed. Cold, almost freezing, and thick, like walking through water. My flashlight illuminated the room, but the corners seemed to recede, stretching into darkness beyond comprehension. And then I saw it. The figure, same as before, but closer. Its presence pressed against me, and I could feel the weight of it physically, as if gravity had doubled in my chest. The featureless face turned slowly toward me, and although I couldn't see eyes, I felt its gaze pierce me. I stumbled backward, tripping over the rug. The figure advanced without moving its legs, gliding silently toward me. Panic surged through my veins. My mind screamed to flee, but my body refused to respond. Suddenly, it stopped, just a few feet away. I could hear a faint, almost metallic whisper in my ears. I couldn't understand the words, but they resonated deep in my brain, a vibration that made my teeth ache. I remembered the camera. I swung around to see my laptop on the desk. The recording light was on. Primera vez to it, hands trembling. But as I looked at the screen, my blood ran cold. The footage showed me standing in the room, watching the shadows. But behind me, reflected faintly in the corner of the frame, was the figure. Slowly, it leaned closer to the camera, tilting its head in the same menacing way as before. Its featureless face seemed to smile, or at least, I imagined it did. And then, as I stared, paralyzed with fear, it raised a hand. Not toward me, but toward the camera, and my laptop screen went black. The whispering stopped. For a moment, silence. Then, the scratching resumed, but now, it was inside my walls, inside the floors, even inside the ceiling. The sound moved unpredictably, faster now, and with a chaotic energy that made my nerves snap. Every hair on my body stood on end. I knew I had to leave. I grabbed my coat. My keys, though, they seemed to have returned to their hook, ran toward the door. But the hallway stretched impossibly long. The exit, my escape, seemed miles away, as if the building itself had changed while I slept. Each step echoed unnaturally, my shoes hitting the floor like thunderclaps. And then I saw them, reflections in the apartment doors along the corridor, dozens of me, standing frozen, staring back with hollow eyes. And behind each reflection, a shadowy figure. Not just one, but many, gliding silently, their heads tilting, their gaze fixed on me. Primera ra en. Faster. The exit was close, or at least, I thought it was. But the moment I reached the stairwell, it vanished. The exit turned into a solid wall. Concrete. Smooth, gray, and unyielding. Panic clawed at my chest. I pounded my fists, screamed, but the wall remained. The whispers returned, this time coming from everywhere at once. My name, over and over, mixed with words I couldn't comprehend. Sentences that cut through my mind like knives. I covered my ears, but it didn't help. The voices were inside me now, inside my thoughts, impossible to escape. And then I saw movement in the shadows at the edge of the stairwell. A single figure stepped forward, tall, dark, featureless, but unmistakably watching me. The air around it shimmered slightly, like heat waves over asphalt, and I realized with horror that it wasn't bound by the laws of my world. It could appear anywhere, at any time, bending reality itself. I stumbled back, tripping over the stairs. My breath came in short, ragged gasps. The figure advanced. I wanted to scream, to fight, to do something, anything, but my body refused. I was trapped in a nightmare that had spilled into reality. And then, the figure stopped. Rhysodon, and everything went silent. The whispering, the scratching, the cold, it all vanished. My apartment returned to normal. The lights glowed warmly. The shadows fell naturally. The city outside resumed its usual noise. I fell to my knees, exhausted, trembling. Had it been a hallucination? A severe panic attack? I couldn't tell, but as I looked around my apartment, something caught my eye. On my laptop, a single word typed across the black screen. Soon, I knew it wasn't over, not by a long shot. The following days were unbearable. I tried to return to normal life, but everything felt off. Shadows seemed too dark, sounds too sharp, and reflections in mirrors. They didn't quite match me anymore. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, not just in my apartment, but everywhere I went. One night, desperate for answers, I decided to set up a motion-sensitive camera in my bedroom. If what I experienced was real, I needed proof. If it wasn't, maybe I could finally convince myself I was sane. I positioned the camera on my nightstand, pointed at the corner where the figure had appeared. The lens caught the dim light of the lamp, the familiar shadows on the walls, and nothing. Hours passed. Every creak, tap, and hum of the apartment made me jump, but the camera recorded only empty rooms. Then, at 2:13 a.m., the footage changed. The lamp flickered violently, and for a split second, the corner of my room shimmered like water. And then it appeared, the figure tall, featureless, silent, hovering in the corner. Unlike before, it didn't move toward me. Instead, it watched. Its presence was heavier than gravity, pressing down on the entire room. I tried to scream, but no sound escaped. My body was paralyzed. My mind screamed at me to do something, anything, but I was frozen. And then, the whispering returned. It's not just here, it's everywhere. I wanted to look away, to run, to hide, but my eyes were glued to the figure, and that's when I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Behind it, faint shapes, indistinct, dark, gliding, crowding the corners of the room. They weren't fully formed, just shadows of something, but I knew they were alive. They were waiting. I woke up the next morning, drenched in sweat, my heart racing uncontrollably. I checked the footage. The camera had recorded nothing after that moment. It was as if the figures existed in a world the camera couldn't capture. I thought I could ignore it. Who said us either live as if nothing had happened? But every time I closed my eyes, saw the shadows, felt the presence, heard the whispering. My friends noticed my change in behavior, my restless nights, my distracted gaze. I told them I was stressed, overworked, needing rest. But deep down, I knew it was something else. Something far worse. Then it started leaving signs. Small things at first. My books moved, doors slightly ajar when I was certain I had closed them. Then objects appeared in places they shouldn't, keys on the floor instead of the hook, my phone on the couch. When I'd left it in the bedroom, and always, that whispering. Not at night, not only in the apartment, but everywhere. One evening, as I walked home, I passed a dark alley. Something caught my attention, a shadow detaching itself from the wall, moving fluidly, gliding toward me. I froze. It paused, tilted its head, and for the first time, I realized it knew me. It recognized me. I ran the rest of the way home. The shadows followed, stretching across the streets, flickering at the edge of my vision. At my apartment, I locked every door, every window, and tried to convince myself I was safe. But the air was heavy, suffocating, filled with a cold that seemed to seep into my bones. Days turned into restless nights. Sleep became impossible. I would wake up gasping, sure someone or something was standing over me. And sometimes, I wasn't alone. One night, I woke to find the figure standing at the foot of my bed, closer than ever before. Its presence pressed against my chest, like a weight I couldn't lift. My breath came in short, shallow gasps. I tried to move, to scream, to grab anything my hands passed through it. Cold and insubstantial, it tilted its head, and I felt a wave of dread wash over me. Not host fear, but understanding. It wasn't here to harm me. not directly. It was marking me, claiming me, letting me know I was part of its world now. I realized then that I could never escape. The shadows, the whispers, the figure it would follow me, always. I don't know why it chose me. Maybe it was my fear, my loneliness, vulnerability. Maybe it chooses randomly, but one thing was certain. I was never truly alone again, and neither are you, if you felt that chill in the air. That prickle of awareness that something unseen is watching. I tried to document it, record it, prove it, but nothing captures the reality of being observed by something beyond understanding. Come at us, violent phones die, reflections lie. All that remains is the feeling, the whisper, the shadow, the knowing. And as long as I live, I will never forget it. So, if you ever feel it, the gaze, the whisper, the chill, remember my story. And don't ignore it. Don't convince yourself it's nothing, because once it notices you, it will never let go. If you made it through this story, thank you for watching. I hope it left you as unsettled as it left me. Make sure to leave a comment below. I want to know if you've ever felt the same presence I did. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because more true horror stories like this one are coming your way. And remember, watch carefully, because the shadows are always closer than you think.